Nearly 30 years after Tupac Shakur was fatally shot in a drive-by shooting on the Las Vegas Strip, the long-awaited murder trial of Duane Davis is underway. Joining us this morning to talk about that trial is attorney Tre Lovell. Good morning, Tre. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
This is something that has really captivated a lot of the pop culture scenes for 30 years. It was 1996. Everybody remembers that. He was in the car with Suge Knight, another famous rapper, and there was this gang rivalry. Talk a little bit about this individual who is on trial for this and why his own words may be what, put the nail in the coffin for him, so to speak.
Sure. So people need to remember this was a cold case. This was a 30-year-old murder that was unsolved and largely put on the shelf, given up on. And then 2 decades later, around 2019, this memoir comes out by Duane Davis, who's a defendant, and he starts including all these admissions where he puts himself in the vehicle. He has himself providing the gun, kind of shot calling the hit. And after all these years, the prosecutor's like, whoa, now we have a suspect. So it's a self-inflicted wound. He was okay. Nothing would have happened had he not come out with the book and largely admitted to the crime. And that's what's triggered this whole prosecution.
I mean, and he's pleaded not guilty to one count of murder. I mean, he says he was in the car, but it was a backseat passenger who he never named that actually fired the shot. What about the fact that it's been 30 years? I mean, how are they looking to go after this and prosecute it?
Well, what's interesting is in nowadays in murder trials, you have a lot of forensic evidence. You have DNA testing, you have fingerprints. If a gun is used, you have ballistics. If it's in public, you have a lot of witnesses and maybe even video. And sometimes you have co-conspirators that you can kind of get to roll on each other to help prosecute it. We have none of that here. But what we do have is often the best evidence that prosecution can have, an admission, a confession of sorts. And so the prosecution is leading with that confession and those statements. And then basically building a case behind that, bolstering that up. They have identified 200 witnesses that they plan to call. It's going to be a 4 or 5 week trial. So they're going to put on a lot of evidence with one goal, to demonstrate he was telling the truth when he made the statements and that he participated and committed the crime.
Now, in this memoir, Duane Davis, who was a well-known leader of the South Compton Crips, a rival gang to what Tupac was in, and he talks about how Death Row Records, that was a part of Tupac's gang, had beat up his nephew. Do you think that could possibly play into some sort of defense for Davis, and that he was just, I don't know, enraged, or that he didn't have any, he didn't control the person in the back seat? What do you think is a likely defense approach here?
Well, I think the defense approach is going to be 2 things. First of all, time is their best friend. This happened 30 years ago. Witnesses' memories have faded. The witnesses are going to be subject to tough cross-examinations, based on their memory and what happened so long ago. So the defense is going to take full advantage of that. We need to remember the prosecution has the burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So the defense is going to chip away at every witness, challenge their recollection, challenge what happened, challenge what they remember, to hopefully cut them down and dispute the credibility. The second thing is they need to distance their client from these statements. They need to prove that the client didn't mean what he said, they weren't true. There was an ulterior motive, for example, they were in the book, but there was a ghostwriter. He claims he never read the book. There was also evidence where he was investigated by federal investigators or interviewed by federal investigators in 2008. That they're going to use as well. He's saying I was given a script. They promised it would never be used against me. And so they really need to distance their client and prove the client was not telling the truth. So it's really going to come at it from those 2 angles. And the big issue here is, will he have to testify? Because he may be the only person that can convince a jury what he said wasn't true.
Yeah. Well, I know you are big into the entertainment world as a trial attorney there with that, an entertainment attorney. Do you think this is going to captivate as many people as, let's say, the Diddy trials? What are you expecting over the next several weeks here?
Well, I don't know if it's going to be as big as the Diddy trial, but it's going to be captivating because you know the arrest and prosecution of Duane Davis has really triggered and brought back into the public this murder. And there was a lot of unsolved aspects about it, not only about who did it, but kind of why and the circumstances. And they've always wanted to figure out what happened there. So I think in addition to finding out who actually was involved in the murder, I think the trial will unveil a lot of other issues in terms of the circumstances and what really happened. And certainly, you know, to give peace to the Tupac Shakur family and other people that have just wondered, you know, how could this have gone down?
Yeah, I mean, there were so many conspiracy theories surrounding this case at the time. So very interesting 30 years later to see this play out. Tre Lovell, thank you so much. Appreciate your time this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.